Puri, who is 14 years old. Viraj is the creator of Bullyvention, which is a way to leverage the power of people and technology to advocate against cyberbullying based on algorithms that analyze social media messages. His bullying heat map raises awareness by showing in real time where bullying is happening. Welcome, Viraj. Next, we have His Excellency Mr. Ib Peterson, Permanent Representative of Denmark to the United Nations. Mr. Peterson has served in this position since August 2013, and before this, Ambassador Peterson served as the State Secretary for Development Policy of the Danish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Welcome, Mr. Peterson. Next, we are joined by Andrew Zimmerman, President of Frog, a global design and innovation firm that is actively engaged in social innovation. Mr. Zimmerman drives Frog's strategy and oversees its worldwide operations and has been the force behind the company's long history of innovation through product and service development, new business formation, strategic partnering in global and early stage companies. Welcome, Mr. Zimmerman. Next, I am pleased to introduce you to Ms. Rebecca Richards-Cordum, who is a professor of bioengineering at Rice University and the director of Rice's Institute for Global Health Technologies. Ms. Richards-Cordum's innovative work has brought life-saving technology to impoverished nations around the world, and she'll be sharing some of her examples with us today. Thank you so much. And last, but certainly not least, please help me in welcoming Ms. Bisman Du, just 16 years old. Bisman Du and two other young people developed greenwood, a building material that is made from unwanted rice waste. Much of the time, this waste is burned, which causes air pollution, it kills crop-friendly insects, and it makes the topmost layer of soil partially infertile. Greenwood is not only environmentally sustainable, but it can also be used to create low-cost housing, sturdy school furniture, and at the same time improve rural livelihoods by creating a market for rice waste. Welcome, Bisman. Okay. So this is an incredibly diverse panel, and I am really looking forward to today's discussion. Viraj, I'd like to start with your take on innovation. A Nickelodeon viewer survey found that the top concern amongst families for their children was bullying. Now, you've developed a truly innovative way to address that concern. So can you tell us about how your ideas have helped draw attention to this terrible phenomenon and how increased connectivity is letting people solve problems more collaboratively?
Yes, of course. Well, as you all know, that thanks to the recent technology that we've had in the last 5-6 years, we got Twitter booming, we got these Apple products, we got truly innovative technology nowadays. We all use it for good, most of us do, but there are some who use it for bad, in the example of cyberbullying. Technology always has its upsides and its downsides, Cyberbullying really is a big issue today, and I really feel that if we can use technology in a truly innovative way to tackle bullying, we can truly make a difference. Because with such an innovative technology, it requires an innovative way to tackle any issues we have, especially in the field of bullying. And also in the world of the technology, with it booming, we also got an interactive way to put stuff on maps. In the example of my website, Bullyvention.com, we have one section on it called the heat map. And what the heat map does is it takes 280 points all across the United States, and it maps out where bullying occurs throughout the United States by using specific algorithms that I've developed, which can, through the use of social networking, in fact, through phrases like "you're so stupid" or "no one likes you," and of course any inappropriate words or racial slurs that are directed to anyone. We've mapped these out throughout the United States. And I think this is another innovative way in which we can truly make a difference in the world of bullying. You know, for teens and kids, for their innovative passions, you know, to take that further, I think their parents and their families and the local support of their peers and communities, you know, I believe support for these kids and their teens and their innovative ideas is truly crucial because, you know, if you don't have support, then you're just not going to want to continue it. Everyone's putting you down, they're just calling your ideas stupid, or, you know, they're not with you, then you're going to feel like you're truly alone. So I believe that support with our innovative ideas is truly important.
Thank you, Viraj, for that incredible insight. Ambassador Peterson, Denmark has been known to be a strong supporter of innovation, the kind that we just saw demonstrated in Viraj's project, particularly for the purpose of promoting child rights. Why is that so?
Well, I think Denmark has, as a small country, very open to the outside world trends. We have always based our progress on innovation, and that's somehow very cross-cutting. So it's also natural for us to look at that and talk about our cooperation with UN agencies in support of children's rights, women's rights, and so on. So we're very happy to see you and be on the first to support the innovation from the UNICEF. I think it's shown a lot of good results. I think we also eager that we really try to spare him. So we have also told Sonia we expect to be really innovative. So it's not about a new fund that you can finance a project that will go on and go on. This is something that we expect to be tested, and it works, and it doesn't work. And then it will be very difficult as well. So I think that's the basic idea. And I think we're seeing a lot of good results, in particular with using smartphones and so on, kids and children. You report, which is an SMS-based innovation whereby children and people and everybody can get information, appear about Ebola and raise and ask questions and so on. So kids get the information, the authorities get information about what is up where and what's really important here. And this is something that we would then expect to be kind of incorporated in ordinary programs as well.
Where do you see the role of governments in making innovation happen for all children?
But governments, we can support financially and by other means of incentives, creating what we call an enabling environment, which may sound like a funny expression, but it actually has a fundamental impact. It's about making it possible, providing the incentives, as I said, donations, providing, for instance, in schools, in the curricula, to have innovation in that as well. That's something that we're working with in Denmark as well. So, and then of course we can provide funding for organizations, for individual projects,
Mr. Zimmerman, innovation in the private sector has often been associated with the development of new consumer products or improving efficiencies, but you believe that the private sector can use innovation to bring about social change. What is the view from Frog on how the corporate world can use innovation to reach those who are still being left behind?
Yeah, I think just a moment on Frog. We're a design innovation firm, and we mainly work with corporations in developing new products and services, but we do some social impact work, including working with UNICEF for things like recently a program we did funded by the Nike Foundation was a program around teaching girls how to collaborate around common problems in Kenya, which then has been rolled out to other places, using some very simple mobile applications, communication applications. And I think one of the things that private sector underestimates when they get involved in social action programs is the fact that the developing world actually, in some cases, is a real source of innovation that you can bring back into the developed economy. So I think the obvious benefits are things like brand, you have to associate your brand with good causes, your employees, goodwill you earn with your employees, your customers might be associated with doing socially valuable things. But if you just take one example, which is the mobile world, in the developed world, in the Bay Area, everyone talks about being mobile first. And so our strategy is we're going to develop first for mobile and then for our platforms. Well, if you really want to look at mobile first, go into the developing world, where the only infrastructure is mobile. So it's not a question of mobile first, it's mobile only. And once you start working in that world, in social action programs, most of which utilize that mobile infrastructure in very creative ways and quite simple ways, what you actually do is learn a lot about what does it mean to really be mobile first or even mobile only. And you take that learning and that innovation back into your corporate world, developing corporate products and services both for the developed world and the developing world. So I think that some of the more enlightened corporations we work with realize this is not just a question of doing good things for the world economy or even involving your employees in socially valuable exercises. You actually learn a lot. It's like an education going out in the developing world in these social action programs. So some of those learnings you can bring back into your advanced economies and into new products and services.
Mr. Zimmerman, I really like what you mentioned about innovation being beyond just various technologies, but maybe it's just a simple idea or a different perspective on doing things. Rebecca, I think that you can specifically speak to this as you are one of the many innovators whose perspective is captured in this year's State of the World Children Report. Your contribution is called the Nursery of the Future. And when I think of nurseries or of children's clinics, and I'm sure that many of us would think of this as well, of well-equipped and well-staffed facilities, but not really the case for all children around the world. So how important is it to understand the local context and the local needs to the development of innovation?
I think it's absolutely essential to understand the local context, and here's why. If you go into any hospital in a low-resource setting, you will find a part of the hospital that is the technology graveyard. And this is a room that is just stuffed full of broken equipment that was designed for high-resource settings. And it's usually been donated by very well-meaning people. If that technology worked, it would do so much to improve the quality of care. But instead, what you have broken incubators for babies that are being used as doorstops at hospitals where babies are dying of hypothermia. And we essentially have a 50 to 60-year technology gap between the nurseries in high-resource hospitals and the nurseries in low-resource hospitals. It's like what we had available in Houston in the 1950s when you go to places like Malawi and Ethiopia where I work. But I think the good news is that if you start from the perspective of the local context, if you think about how do I design something for a place where the power cuts on and off, or where water isn't clean all the time, or where consumables or spare parts are not available. If you start from that perspective, and if you engage the creativity of students and build on the knowledge of local innovators, then there are many, many examples where people have designed medical technologies at 1/10 or 1/100th of the cost of what's available in a high-resource setting, but they have equivalent performance. So I think that perspective that you think at the beginning, it's essential to your success.
I completely agree, Rebecca. I think it's absolutely crucial to adapt innovations to local context and work with the community. I think, Bisman, you can add to this, as you've certainly addressed this as an environmental issue from the grassroots perspective in India, developing a revolutionary new construction material from rice husks, which I am completely in awe of, by the way. So from your experience, what is the value that children and young people can bring to innovation for children?
Well, I actually strongly feel that children actually do have the best ideas because there's nothing comes in between of us finding solutions for the problems or the cause that we really care for. So also the fact being that we are free to think, we're dynamic, not boasting, but just saying that the right to participation also increases our responsibility to to understand that we are the citizens of today, and the future does lie in our hands. So it is our responsibility to actually just go out there, and we're positioned to make a change. Coming to my innovation of how I think I contributed to the society in a way that I thought was essential. I came up with this building material that was made, a low-cost building material, made out of rice waste, which is otherwise burnt and has no commercial value for the farmers. So it actually stems from real-life experience. Whenever I used to go to my farm, that is in India, I actually saw this problem to be to be causing so much of chaos, because the amount of pollution that this rice waste, when it's burned, accounts like for 6% of the entire pollution. And then I started researching as to the fact of what I can do with this rice waste, and I found that it had great characteristics. It has a high content of silica, which tends to make it waterproof and termite resistant. So then I came up with greenwood, of using that to make a building material for poor people that are otherwise living in mud huts and shackles that are so unsturdy that with the coming of any natural calamity, they just go collapsing down, which is such a great danger to their very lives. So greenwood, it's actually really light, and it reduces the risk of the lives that are there in many people. So it's providing them with these low-cost housing. Also, another initiative that I, along with my friend Ananya Sharma, started was Food Sack. So this is with the goal of providing the poor people with food. So it's a very simple idea. We plant vegetables in a sack and give it to them, because they do not, there's a major problem in India is also land availability. So they do not have land to grow their own vegetables, and therefore also because of the rising food prices and vegetables. And so we provided them with these food sacks so that they could grow their own food. Now this we did with the motive of making people self-sufficient, and for the world to go towards sustainable development. So this was my initiative that I just had, and I just feel that young people like us, we don't necessarily have to be inventors. We just have to be keen observers as to really analyze the problems that are going on around in our society, and be poised to make a change, to really change, and to come up with innovative, that's where real innovative ideas come from, when we know and we really feel for a cause. So I'd also like to end by saying that I've always stood by this, that every generation needs a new revolution, and we truly are the revolution.
Thank you so much, Vivian.
Amazing.
I can't help but smile. I have learned so much from each and every single one of you, and you all have so much wisdom and new ways of approaching innovation, and I think that that's something that we can all take away from in this room. But I don't want to be selfish. I'm going to share you all with the members, everyone in this room, and I want to open up the floor to any questions that you may have for any of our panelists here today. They have so much wisdom and insight to share on innovation, so please introduce yourselves and ask questions. Yes. There will be a mic that will come up.
Thank you.